Hello and welcome to Relevant Rants, where we're going to give you our opinions on some interesting topics that we picked out today. Mike and Tom are not here today, and it's just the two of us, Nathaniel and Alex. We'll be talking about the a Starfield video game controversy. We're going to be talking about the writer's strike and whether or not fast food workers should get $22 an hour. Stay tuned, you're going to find out. Edition.
Wow, we would have never believed this. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. Go out there and listen to us. So we're excited about it. We're glad you're excited about it too.
But before we get into these topics, Alex?
We have our ongoing sponsor, Covenant Coffee. They make amazing coffee, and it's not just the amazing coffee. They do a lot of amazing things in the community, like helping foster kids and other charities, and they're a nonprofit. So basically, all they're here to do is spread the love of God and just help out the community.
Awesome. Thank you, Covenant Coffee.
Yes, thank you.
For our first topic of the day, Alex.
Yeah, so basically, speaking of Covenant and video games, because there's a enemy in Halo called the Covenant. To crappily tie that together. Speaking of video games, Starfield is brought up, and normally video games aren't really brought up on this show ever because Mike doesn't know what they are. But basically, there's a pronoun controversy going on.
Interesting.
With Starfield, in the sense that some people got a bit upset that you were asked to pick your pronoun.
Let's take a step back really quick. For those of you who don't know, Starfield is a brand new video game that
Yes.
just recently came out. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
It's been in the talks for about 8 years at this point, been in development for 8 years.
Highly anticipated, all that stuff.
Yeah, it just came out last week, and already in the week that it's been out, there's a controversy. And you said it's about pronouns.
Yes. So I haven't played the game, but in the beginning of the game, there's a character creation because it's an RPG.
Yep.
Role-playing game. And basically, when you're creating your character, you can pick your name, and as well as your pronouns, which is like the he, him, she, her kind of stuff, or they, them. And he just got extremely upset about that's even in the game.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? F***ing pronouns!
However, you were saying, though, that there's something more than what's going on.
Yeah, so this YouTuber got very upset. He kind of blew up on the internet, became viral, just complaining about the pronouns thing. And the more and more that is coming out about him, the more it's seeming like this isn't just someone who's talking about it. It's possibly is a PR stunt by the game itself, trying to create a bunch of buzz over this game. The YouTuber who did this also made conflicting, like, personal, I guess, statements about pronouns and stuff in other games he's played that's just recently come out that are the complete opposite of what he's blowing up and being angry about now. And so people are really interested to know, is Starfield actually the ones who are like pushing this, like, look, our game has this, you know what I mean, where you're included thing, which
I don't feel like it is.
It's
one thing like the game is like one of those 100+ hour experiences, and the only time this ever happens is your character creation, which you never see again. So it's like, are people? I mean, I feel like people are overreacting to it.
It's kind of interesting because there's one of those things, no bad news is really bad news when it comes to a media thing, and I instantly always think of Disney. When beauty, like, this is interesting because we're seeing this more and more because it's always been in video games. Video games have always had this character creation slot where you can actually choose whether you want to be a male or female or what, and there's always different things depending on the game. However, we're seeing more and more of these things starting to come out in video game publicly. Hogwarts Legacy was another game that had a lot of controversy over the similar things over this game. And it reminded me of Disney, how Disney almost started off too with Beauty and the Beast. And one of the executives even said there's an exclusively gay moment in Beauty and the Beast, which created a bunch of buzz over the movie. Disney obviously didn't sway around it or anything.
Exclusive.
They openly accepted all the news and stuff. And when the scene came around, it was a 2-second scene, and
removed for Chinese audiences.
Yeah, it was a 2-second scene. Everyone created all this buzz over this movie for nothing.
It's free advertising.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people are saying Starfield's doing the exact same thing. We just found that interesting because it's fascinating that just something that went viral over this is seemingly, honestly,
Yeah.
probably for nothing.
But speaking of people protesting about things,
Yeah.
The writer strike has been taking a turn for the worse, it seems.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I really get upset about this, actually, because they've been on strike, I think, now for about 5 months. And the writer's strike, I can sympathize with them. I can sympathize with wanting a pay raise. Sure. You know what I mean? You
Mhm.
work in an industry for long enough, you want a pay raise. I can sympathize with the AI thing, making sure that I don't write half a script and then the AI takes over the rest of the half. I can understand that. You want to get paid for your entire work. And I can even sympathize with the other things that they want. More writers in the room. Sure, more people making less work. That one's a little 50-50 on me. What was the other one again? Oh, contracts.
Yes.
Contracts. To be able to make sure you have your job instead of just show by show.
You don't write for a couple weeks and then you're let go because
Yeah.
you already did your part. Yeah.
Exactly. So recently everyone's been, they've been striking for these things. I want more of this. I want this. I want this. Fine. You can get that. So I think personally some of them are a little greedy, but it's fine. You fight for what you want. You don't fight for,
Yeah.
they're good for them. However, 5 months in, there's been some issues right now with the union. The union is hiding what they're negotiating with. They won't tell anyone what they're negotiating with. And there was a recent one that happened, I think 2 weeks ago, where they went in, or even last week, I think it was, where they went in and negotiated with a company, and they're just like, hey, here's what we want. And the company even came back and said, this is what we're going to give you. We're going to give you a 5% raise in the first year. Second and third year, we're going to give you a 4.5% raise and a 3.5% raise. And then we're going to work on AI. We're going to work with you to make sure your scripts aren't stolen. We're going to give you contract. Literally, they gave them everything they wanted. And apparently the union just walked away. And which is fine, which is fine. Negotiations, whatever. The thing is, the union wasn't the one who told the writers that this was happening. It was the company itself who said, hey, here's what we proposed. And this is bringing up a lot of uproar right now because the writers are now like, we're not working. We're getting nothing. And you turn down a really good offer.
It also seems like it's like they're negotiating the purchase of a car or house and not like the lives of like several hundred or thousands of people, like livelihoods.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're not making any money right now.
No.
It's like my old job because of the pandemic, I was furloughed twice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they've been furloughed. And
Yeah.
it's like they can't work because their whole career is based on what they're striking. So they can't go find another writing gig while they're out and about fighting for what they want when they're not even fighting, or they probably don't even want to fight anymore. They probably wanted that deal that you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they were like, take the deal.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no. And it's like, oh, okay.
Exactly. And something that just came up is Bill Maher. Or
Bill
I keep saying Maher.
Bill Governor.
Maher. There you go. Bill Maher came out and said, we're resuming. We are going to resume this. However, we're not going to hire any writers because we're going to respect to the strike. We're not going to do that. You know what I mean? However, he's like, I have a production team that needs work. It's crazy to think that, the writer strike is huge, but there are caterers out there still. There are makeup artists,
to the janitors of the facilities.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into a production, and they're not getting paid either because all these
and
shows
they're not
got
getting
canceled.
the raise.
No, they're not getting that.
Yeah.
So it's insane to think that the writer strike has affected so many people because I can't even imagine being like, you're trying to make it in LA. You're like, I can't get any work as a writer. I can't get work as this person. I can get work as I don't know, a sound tech, running sound, holding a camera, and then suddenly having that stripped away from you. And you're like, well, I can't work not because I'm going to get a raise, but because those people over there are going to get raises.
And that most likely they're already making more than they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
not
just
saying that
not saying
that they don't
bad.
deserve that, because
yeah.
I'm sure there's a huge demand for talented writers,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like the wrench in the cog, and it's affecting everybody.
It feels selfish by the people who are running
but
who
by
are
the union
negotiating.
specifically, yeah.
And it's kind of interesting.
And it sounds to me
too.
like there's no voting system either.
No. It's just the people who are in charge make the negotiations, and then they come back to tell everyone else.
That won't pick
I'd
up.
be curious to see if how this affect. We were talking about this earlier. How this is going to affect the industry going forward. A lot of people right now are asking to leave the union because this isn't what they wanted. They didn't negotiate. They wanted the last deal. They wanted other deals probably before that. But they're not getting it. So I'm curious to see how this is going to plan out. And it's funny too. There's someone else I watch regularly, and they were making fun of this whole situation, going, oh man, this is crazy. This whole strike thing. It's like, it's not like you can leave the union. You don't want to end up like
Matthew McConaughey.
Steven Spielberg. Man, look at that guy. He hasn't done much. Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because these people are. I think the union is going to take a huge hit.
It's the
from
fear
this.
of like, oh, if you're not with us, then we're gonna do our best to make sure you don't work ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And which sucks is because that does happen.
Drew Barrymore right now is under a lot of scrutiny because, and I don't remember specifically, but the award show. I think she was trying to write for the award show, and the union called her a scab, and they cut her off and got her fired from the award show.
But if she's a scab, she's required to provide healing.
Yeah.
They don't know what scabs are. No, I'm kidding. But speaking of scrutiny and
pay raises,
the bill in California that will bring up fast food wages to $22 an hour.
Exactly. I can't imagine that. And to the person who constantly complains and rolls their eyes at me for asking for no onions and no mustard on my hamburger, you don't deserve $22. Like, you don't. It's not hard just to go, dude, I was in that position. It's not that difficult.
I've also done fast food. I think I was making 12 or 13.
Yeah.
I think that was barely the amount I deserved then too. Like, and I also wasn't even like the bottom of the bottom. I felt like I was because I was doing the shipments at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And putting all that stuff away and all that stuff. But,
it's crazy. We're coming into a generation where they don't believe that more work is needed, but that more money is needed. Mm-hmm. Talking to even less like people that I know who are way older than me, like grandparents and all these things. They're like, yeah, I work 3 jobs to support my family. Like, and instead of just like, and like that, and those jobs, they weren't career jobs. They were part-time jobs for a reason. Mm-hmm. They're not like, if you go to school and you're in college, becoming a doctor, that's different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. These are fast food jobs. These are entry-level jobs. These are not supposed to be luxurious.
It's also enabling
jobs.
People to not move past entry-level jobs.
Exactly.
Like, I've moved past entry-level jobs, and now it's pushing.
There's no fine line anymore.
Who makes more
exactly.
in this regard? Like,
and it's crazy too to think that like these people are asking for more money, but they don't realize what the consequences are of doing this. We were talking about this earlier too. I think that this is a really good thing to get rid of employees. Like, this is going to push companies just to go more into everything being automated.
It's like we're only going to touch on this briefly. It's kind of like the more demands you make of businesses, the more they're going to react negatively. No. And also it'll punish everybody. Exactly. For example, like Apple, the EU, they were like, all right, you have to go type C. And they're like, well, fine, we'll go type C, but like now we're going to speed up the process of going portless. Yep. Like, it's never going to work out in the end.
No, it's
not. It might work out for like a couple months or a couple years, but in the end, the corporations are going to win.
Exactly.
They're going to get what they want, and sometimes that might be pro-consumer, but usually tends to not be.
Yeah, it's funny to think that the people who are working these fast food jobs are demanding so much of their employers, not thinking that their employers are spending so much money on them. And like, there are certain things that are not okay that employers do sometimes in fast food industries because it's an entry-level job and they feel like they can push weight around. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you're giving people $22 an hour, even $20 an hour for a fast food entry-level job, man, it's like, I can't imagine that because all the food is already expensive as it is. Fast food's expensive right now. It's cheaper. It's
$12 for a medium combo.
Yeah, it's cheaper for me now to. It's crazy to think it's like I can buy things at home, make things at home, even though it's always been cheaper. It's sometimes fast food undercut that a little bit. Not anymore. It's like, do I go to a luxurious restaurant and spend $5 more than this cheap fast food? Like, at this point, it's insane to think the price difference.
Well, you know what? I think grocery stores are going to become the new fast food. Yeah. And the reason why is because Rachel's my wife. Rachel and I will go out and go on a quick little, like for dinner, we'll go to Winco and just pick what we want. And then whether we cook it or like it's pre-made or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Costco. Like, it's like, fast food is no longer that much like that easy of an option.
No, it's not.
And it's like making things paying people $22 an hour is certainly going to just make that even worse, to make it even more viable to just shop at a grocery store instead of getting fast food.
Exactly.
Which is probably healthier in the long run, but
yeah, honestly, it probably is too, because you're paying more for your employees. You're going to have to cut costs somewhere.
Yeah, and also like why don't grocery store employees get more? or like why is it specifically fast food?
Yeah, those entry level jobs.
It feels ironic.
It does. Like the jobs you don't expect to get the raise.
Like, do baristas get 22 an hour?
Yeah, that's part of the fast food industry.
It's so weird. It's like
So for all the fast food workers who are about to get a good pay raise,
get my order right.
Well, good luck, because you're either going to be replaced in a few years by some sort of kiosk, or those businesses are going to be so much worse to you.
Or they're going to completely rebrand, and they're no longer going to be fast food.
That's true too.
Yeah.
But anyway, for all the depressingness around there, we're still here. We're giving you our opinions, and thank you for sticking around. If you stick around this long, what are your opinions on everything we've talked about? Do you think the pronouns thing at this point is just overplayed? I guess at this point, like, does it deserve to be overblown? Fast food rider pronouns. Yeah, deserve to be overblown. Is it worth people getting $22 an hour for fast food? And the writer strike, is it worth being in a union, I guess, at this point? Please let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for tuning in. Alex, any last things?
Nope, just Covenant Coffee. Get some coffee. And we'll see you guys next Friday.
Have a good one.
God bless.